Hi, now on to part 2 of our demo of the First Team Analytics Team and Opposition Analysis app. We're going to go into the Player Analysis tab. So again, imagine that we're scouting the opposition. We've identified Christian Pulisic as the player that we want to dig into. We notice that we can search by whatever position we want to look at, but we know he's an attacking mid. The other attacking mids on Milan, we could look at those players as well. But again, we're just looking at Pulisic for the time being. We get some of the bio information related to him, his average position. He likes to play up the right side, so not a surprise here. We look at his pass sonar, and this is colored by his threat. Typically, when he's passing to the straight across to the left, he's the most threatening, and then a little bit more threatening up here than passing it backwards, which is what you would expect. Over here in the table, we can look at his raw statistics, so like shots, goals, assists, etc., passing metrics, progressive passes, crosses, and more, and then some of his defensive metrics that might be more relevant to a defensive player. If we go over here to his player actions heat map, we look at all passes. We can look at key passes. Again, key passes, something defined by Y-Scout, shot assists. We can look at where the passes start, where the passes end, and then where the pass receptions. Once again, as in the first video of this series of demos, we can look at PEP zones if you're interested in PEP zones. Moving on down, we can look at who is Pulisic connecting with. So if you look by passes to, you're going to see that he passes most of the time to Calabria. Not sure about that. Who he's receiving the passes from, and you see where those passes are exactly over here on the right. If we click on a different player, so Loftus-Cheek, we can see these are the passes going to Christian Pulisic from Loftus-Cheek. If we look at the passes from Christian Pulisic, we can look at to Theo Hernandez or another player. So you see Theo tends to be up on the left side. All makes sense. As I said in the first part of the demo, we typically work with the NCAA college team. So there are a couple hundred teams in the NCAA college. You might be playing a team. You're not as familiar with that team as you are with, say, the big teams in Serie A. So you can imagine how this is particularly useful when you're scouting the opposition, and you're not as familiar with the stars on that on the other team. If, for example, we wanted to see another player, we can look at, who do we want to look at? Let's see, a defensive outside back. Let's look at Theo Hernandez. I guess my bias is showing here. But anyway, you see Theo Hernandez's average position. You see the statistics associated with him. Again, we can scroll through the offensive, passing, whatever you would want to look at. And again, his connection map. Lastly, I just want to mention that as part of this application, we do have match reports. So you see that we were demoing this on last year's data, last season's data. But if you wanted to look at any of the matches associated with that Milan played, we could look at Milan versus. Let's look at another game against Inter. Not a particularly great result for AC Milan, where they lost 5-1. But you would see all our match reports that we provide. We show expected goals, shots on target, total threat. All the goals over here on the right side. We have our expected threat trends throughout the game, so you can see how Milan was actually pretty threatening in the first part of the game. Then it kind of evened out. And then we have our expected goals trend as well. This is going to be available for any of our teams. So if we look at Inter, we can click on all of Inter's matches, and we see a similar match report. Now, again, as I said, we typically demo these things we typically work with the NCAA Division I men's and women's teams. So you can get any D1 men's and women's teams here that you would see. We could look back in previous seasons for those teams, and all the team and player information is going to be available through or for all of those teams. If you have any questions at all related to these demos, feel free to send an email to sales@firstteamanalytics.com, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks.